In 2013, Alton Towers Resort would open a new record-breaking roller coaster in the X sector area of the park. This coaster has gone on to become one of the most well-known and popular coasters of all time. It brought in tons of money to the park. However, in 2015, a horrific accident would occur, reshaping the theme park community and the UK's perspective on the park. This is the full history of the Smiler. To understand how the Smiler came to be, we have to visit the park back in 1983 when they opened the black hole where the Smiler sits now. It was an enclosed Schwarzkopf Jetstar 2 that can now be found at a park in Sweden, although it hasn't operated in a few years now. It received major investments in its later years to increase capacity, and Alton Towers showed care for the ride. In 2005, however, there were new rules set on safety that the park would have to adjust the ride to be up to code with. In 2005, they were also planning to open Rita, which was already costing them £8 million. They saw this as an opportunity to close the attraction after 23 years of pleasing guests, but removals of the ride and its pieces didn't begin in 2007. Despite this, the tent it was housed in stayed up, even though it was empty. In Scarefest 2011, Alton Towers hosted 2 scare mazes inside of the tent, Carnival and Screams and Boiler House. In December, they submitted plans for a new record-breaking roller coaster set to open in 2013 in place of the tent. Immediately after the plans were accepted, the tent was removed to make way for the attraction. Soon after, theme park enthusiasts found the plan and realised there were to be 8 inversions, despite John Wardley stating that he wanted to break the inversion record during a press conference for 13. This led to high speculation, including one of the most ridiculous but popular rumours in theme park history. Many fans thought that before the first lift hill there would be a washing machine style element to rack up the inversion count. This was unlikely due to Merlin's budget, but the public was aware that it would be a new roller coaster model, and with a new model often comes new elements. Although, spoiler alert, the new model was simply a reimagining of the highly successful Eurofighter model that didn't have any crazy washing machine elements, although this would have been really cool. To tackle this inversion record, the park wanted a coaster with at least 12 inversions to solidify the record and stop it from being beaten. In the end, they beat the previous record held by Colossus at Thorpe Park, which had 10 inversions, by 4. Since they wanted to trick the public, 6 inversions weren't visible on the plans. The 14 inversions were a pre-lift JoJo roll, which is a heartline roll, 2 downwards corkscrew drops, the world's first 2 consecutive dive loops, 2 batwing inversions, 3 regular corkscrews, a sea serpent roll, which consists of 2 inversions, and a cobra roll, which also consists of 2 inversions.
Join us. You belong to the Smiler.
The Smiler, the world's first 14-looping roller coaster. Book now at altontowers.com.
Infamously, Alton Towers has been restricted to a strict height limit, which caused the designers to become more creative with the profiling and layout of the coaster. The ride was already in a tiny footprint, but the height restriction further worsened the situation. This led to the tangled spaghetti ball of track we now know. In 2012, random logos of a creepy smiley face began to appear around the UK. The advertiser was unknown, but they went to extensive measures to make sure everyone had seen the picture. They even went as far as projecting the logo onto buildings, including Big Ben. In January 2013, after the mysterious logo was spray painted onto a flock of sheep, Alton Towers revealed that they were the company behind the extensive marketing stunt.
This week, we took the decision to paint sheep across the country to announce the name of our new world-first roller coaster, the Smiler.
That's what it's all about. Don't see me smiling. I thought it was quite funny, actually. I feel like I've had the wool pulled over my eyes.
Me too. I feel used.
Rubbish.
They announced the name of their new roller coaster, the Smiler, and informed guests that their recent scare maze, the Sanctuary, was actually an introduction to the ride's theme and the Ministry of Joy. The fictional government controlling their latest invention known as the Marmalizer. The Marmalizer was a gigantic spider-like machine with 5 legs. The legs were 5 methods to try to make the riders feel happy and battle their worst enemy, sorrow. The 5 methods included were the Hypnotizer, which used swirling images to hypnotize riders into happiness, the Tickler, which tickled the riders until they couldn't resist laughing, the Giggler, which used laughing gas to make riders laugh, the Flasher, which disorientated riders with flashing lights, and the Inoculator, which injected riders with a mysterious serum to force the patients into marmalization. There is also a 6th element that isn't featured on the Marmalizer, but is a part of the ride itself. The first inversion is frequently referred to as the Disorientator, due to the pitch-black surroundings and sudden shock of the element. This sinister theme, though, was actually far from its original intended theming, which included a more industrialised theme, with giant abandoned buildings as the station. The Marmalizer was an industrial-legged building, and even featured tunnels around the ride itself, creating near-miss elements whilst on ride. This style of theming was nothing more than a proposed plan, however, and when the ride opened, featured little to no theming relatively close to these original plans. The ride was set to open sometime in March, but the park realised that due to construction delays, they'd have to postpone that date to 16th of May instead. During these delays, they reopened the sanctuary until April, but little did the public know this was the first of many delays the ride would suffer. When the 16th of May came by, without no prior announcement, the ride did not open, and no new opening date was announced. However, there was a press event the next day. During this event, the train got stuck whilst on the vertical lift hill, which led to yet another delay. The park announced they would officially open the ride on May the 23rd. This date was scheduled to be one of the most popular days in the history of the park. They were fully booked out for the day, but with less than a day's notice, the park announced they wouldn't operate the ride due to teething issues. Eventually, the ride did open on the 31st of May, but without any prior announcement. Whilst the opening had already started off horribly, the rest of the year would be full of unreliability and downtime. There were multiple incidents on the ride, although the most notable events were as followed. Guide wheels fell off a train and injured 4 guests. A foot-long bolt dislodged 2 sections of track after falling. Multiple reports of trains becoming stuck on the vertical lift hill. And at the beginning of June 2013, twice within the same week, 2 trains valleyed in between the batwing elements. The opening year was without a doubt chaotic, but Alton Towers was about to discover just how chaotic it could get.
We're going to talk much more about events this afternoon at Towers, that collision on a roller coaster, the Smiler ride. 4 people seriously injured this afternoon, 2 teenage boys and 2 teenage girls.
Others are trapped. Emergency services are trying to rescue them as we speak. Well, earlier we spoke to Ryan McGregor from the West Midlands Ambulance Service and asked him what exactly had happened.
On June 2nd, 2015, just 2 years after the Smiler opened to the public, a horrific accident occurred, which sent ripples through the entire theme park community and forever changed Alton Towers' history and reputation. The roller coaster appeared to be operating as usual, however, in reality, it was far from it. Gerstlauer had stated that the ride couldn't operate in winds exceeding 34 miles an hour or more, but on this specific day, high winds reached up to 46 miles an hour. The Smiler faced some downtime midday, which was likely some regular sensor breakdowns that are common on coasters. The operator called the park's maintenance team to the area, and they resolved the issue. Due to large queues, the maintenance crew added a 5th train to the track, something that was approved by the manufacturer. The team failed to inform the ride operator of this, however, so the operator believed that there were only 4 trains on the track. Maintenance sent round 1 train as a test run. The team left the site, however, little did anybody realise this train would fail to complete the incline between the 2 batwing elements, where the trains valleyed in opening year. After a few minutes, the carriage came to a complete rest on the track, and the operator began to load another train with riders, unaware of this. This loaded train was sent around the course and reached the top of the first lift hill, where the ride safety system, block brakes, functioned as intended by stopping the carriage, indicating to the ride operator that there was something obstructing the track ahead. As the operator believed that there were only 4 trains, he knew the location of all these 4. There was 3 in the station and 1 at the top of the lift. The operator failed to check any security cameras to see if there was anything on the track ahead of the loaded vehicle. They decided to override the block brakes, and the loaded train continued onto the same track where the stalled train sat. Unfortunately, the two trains ended up colliding over 20 miles an hour, which was equivalent to a 90 mile an hour car crash. It took 20 minutes for the first 999 call to be made, whilst people filmed the horror on their phones. When emergency services arrived, it took them over 4 hours to prise the injured riders from the carriage. All of the riders were taken to hospital with whiplash, but the 4 people in the front row had the most severe injuries by far. 2 of the women sat in the front train, both ended up having their legs amputated due to the incident. One of the other victims suffered a punctured lung and a fractured knee, and the other lost a finger and broke his kneecaps. Alton Towers were fined £5 million and in court were sued by most of the victims. The largest individual payout they gave was £1.9 million. The park's attendance and income was significantly affected for years due to the incident. They even had to shut down the park for investigations for 5 days following the tragic event. During this investigation, it was found that all the roller coaster and rides, except for the Smiler, were found to be operational and had the appropriate safety precautions. The Smiler didn't open until the 2016 season, and the crash was blamed on human error. June 2nd was one of the most impactful days in the history of the park for all the wrong reasons. It was a tragic event that day, and researching this video has made me realise how horrific the event truly was. Imagine being stuck with your legs smashed into a train with this much leg space. I hope all the victims are doing better now, which I'm sure they are, and I'm happy to say that 2 of the riders in the front row, Leah and Joe Pugh, both got happily married to each other a few years ago. I hate to leave on a negative note, so I'd like to thank you for watching, and this video took so much time to research and make, so if you can, please consider subscribing, it would mean the world. I would also like to provide an update on the black hole. As of the time of uploading this video, the ride was recently put up for sale for €400,000, but hasn't seen a buyer yet. I hope you have a great day, and if you could also subscribe to my cousin, Rollercoaster Dude 80, his channel's in the description.